Technology innovation is a huge topic. I don't think we can cover it in 20 minutes, but today we are very honored to have Mr. Biren Gandhi to do a brief summary about the future of technology innovation. Mr. Biren Gandhi has 18 years of strategy and technical technology leadership experience in social networking, cloud, big data, mobile telecom, social gaming, and enterprise collaboration verticals. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Biren Gandhi.
So who is not interested in knowing the future? We all love to know about future, right? It's uncertain. At times we don't know. At times we think we know. But the idea of this talk is not to predict the future, but how can we future-proof ourselves so that we are ready to deal with a chaotic and unpredictable future of ourselves as well as where the technology is going. So let's start with predicting the future first. But as I said, it's not possible. So let's look at the past, how we have done in the past. At least that is some indication of future over there. And by the way, I'm part of Cisco's technology corporate strategic innovation group. So we work with these futuristic disruptive technologies day in and day out, especially things which are 3 to 5 years out, and there might be business opportunities. So we come through many different technologies. Some of them are just fad, some of them may not have enough business value, and some of them are really destined to win. So let's look at the past, what has happened in the past. So this is a very, very powerful quote. It's predicted in the next 10 years, 40% of these Fortune 500 companies are not going to be existing. If you just think about it, 40% of this Fortune 500, these are like multi-billion-dollar companies, not fly-by-night startups of any kind. And there is another remarkable research which is supporting, which was done in year 2014. So they did an analysis of how many companies were there on S&P 500 in 1995, and how many of them stayed on in year 2014. So less than 19 years time frame. How many companies survived to be on S&P 500? Any guesses? And these are again multi-billion-dollar S&P 500 companies. So what are the guesses here from the audience? What do you think? How many companies or what percentage of the companies survived on S&P 500 this 20-year time span? 100%? Any guesses? 20%? Wow, that's a low ball. Any other guesses? 25? 45? 45, all right. But looks like even the 20% was high side. Only 12% of those S&P 500 companies survived. 61 companies out of 500. They were there both in 1995 and in 2014. And this is another remarkable thing. We have seen this picture many times. Many of the business schools case studies on circuit CDs and Kodaks and Blockbusters we are studying. But if you look at the data behind those, it's the average lifespan of these big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, that's reducing from 67 years to just 15 years. So company which got enlisted on S&P 500 or Fortune 500 or some elite list, it used to stay for a very, very long time in the past, and things are changing now. And by 2020, even this more than 3/4 of these S&P 500 companies, they'll be unknowns. We don't know whether Uber and Facebook and other newcomers like Snapchat or who else will make it to the list. They're still unknown. So the future is inherently, by design, it's unpredictable. But change is really the status quo. So we need to work on something which is at the intersection of growth and innovation. Like, how can we make it happen? So just think about the recent changes we have observed in the past. It's not just the technological change, as Nick was very well saying in the previous session. It's not only about technology. It's about business model. It's about consumption models. It's about what people like, how they want to consume technology. So the taxi, I mean, we very well know, taxi industry has been around for a very long time, but the way Uber and Lyft have been disrupting it for the last few years, it's remarkably different. Without owning any assets, They are able to serve large variety, a large population of the country and in the world, in fact. Same thing with the hotel industry, Airbnb, retail store, every single industry, if you look at it, they are undergoing some sort of transformation. And there are certain geographies also, not just technologies and companies. Some geographies in the world where governments are sponsoring a lot of programs for job creation, for having innovation, the spirit of innovation flourish in those countries and those geographies. Many governments in the world are working in a focused manner around those. So the landscape of innovation is really changing as we speak, and it's changing at a drastic pace. So if you look at it, how things are happening, it's the speed, not only speed is increasing, but ideas are more and more democratizing. Ideas are coming from anywhere and everywhere. Previously, there were centralized R&D labs in many big companies. If you rewind the clock back 50 years, 100 years, the big companies used to host one location. This is the R&D location of that company. That paradigm is changing. It's no longer true. Innovation is coming from anywhere and everywhere. It's a level playing field. Competitive landscapes are also shifting constantly, and leaders are confused as a result for rightful reasons. Nobody can predict the future. The future is inherently unclear. It's chaotic. But what can we do? But the underlying message is either you disrupt yourself or be ready to be disrupted by someone else. There were so many companies in the past, the big companies, they were complacent in their spaces. They were enjoying the high-flying positions, the top ranks among their industries, but they were not ready to change. They were not willing to change. They were delusional about their future. They were thinking that whatever the steady revenue they are gaining, it's going to last forever. It's not the case. And in fact, that time frame is shrinking. So we all are at a much bigger and better risk than they were a few years back. So as part of Cisco's constant analysis, we keep a tab of what are the technologies which are going to shift and shape the future. And we publish it in a quarterly fashion, call it Technology Radar. It's not obvious in this figure, but in 2008, there was an inflection point that happened in the world population and number of connected devices. And we'll see some of those discussions in the follow-up panel session on IoT as well. But the number of things or connected devices exceeded the number of human beings on the face of the earth, more than 6.7 billion. So that was the technological breakthrough, a special moment that happened in the field of technology. And after that, it's going exponentially wide. So what's happening? The entire world is actually getting more and more connected as we speak at various levels, not just in terms of internet and in terms of network connectivity, but everyday things are getting more and more connected. Almost there was a research, most of the pedestrian crossing signals, we think that we press the button and the light starts up, the hand comes up. No, that's false actually. More than 80% of the pedestrian signals are fake in this country today. They are all automated. They are based on the sensor whether some human beings are present to cross the road or not. So that button is there only to satisfy that, yes, I press something and I want to cross the road. So signals, cars, more and more things are connected as we speak. Buildings are getting connected, smart buildings, smart ecosystems, lighting systems, they are becoming more and more sensitive. Previously, it used to be just time of day adjustments and very basic sort of adjustments, but now based on the presence of people, based on the presence of car, whether evening time, morning time, seasonality, a lot of factors are getting coded more and more as the world is getting more connected. And sometimes the things we do not even assume that they can be connected are being connected because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. But this is only scratching the surface. So 99.4% of the things that can be connected are not yet connected. So 1.5 trillion things, they still remain unconnected in this world. So we are just at the tip of, not even at the tip of the iceberg. We are living in the world where autonomous cars are going to rise and more. But before autonomous cars are taken on the streets, the connected car industry is going to pick up. So cars are going to talk to each other. Cars are already talking to many different devices as we speak. In fact, a car is more a data center on the wheels. It has many more technological components than it used to have 10 years back. So these are like walking, talking data centers on the wheels. And eventual goal is to make the environment much better, much safer. High-speed networks like Hyperloop, they are going to change the face of the transportation industry altogether. You can go from San Jose to here and go back and forth within like minutes, not hours. So things are becoming more connected at the transportation network, and not just on the Earth. Even intergalactic travel is becoming more and more reality with this re-entry rockets of SpaceX and many other companies that are supporting. So space travel is also going to become much more real, much more closer than we think as we move forward. And not just these transportation pieces. There are other networks which are evolving, like blockchain, for example. That's network, a single network or a network of networks. Those are getting connected more and more. And this is my favorite, as I'm leading the drone business incubation as part of Cisco. But drones are becoming more and more popular, and for both sides, for positive uses as well as people are abusing drones as well a lot. But things are changing. Things are becoming more and more connected. And more recently, these are like connected brains. Elon Musk's announcement, Neuralink company. So trying to connect our brains with computer systems. So that's another way of thinking about connectivity. And not just connectivity. If you think in terms of storage, huge revolution is happening in storage. It's 100 times. So if you think in terms of costs are getting reduced 100 times. Size is also getting reduced 100 times. Capacity is increasing 100 times. So on multiple angles, the storage revolution is taking shape. And more recently, you can actually, based on the more recent research, the DNA-based storage is 215 petabytes per gram of DNA. You can store entire world's data in rooms less than this size. So this is like, it's costly, it's cost prohibitive right now, but it's not going to be cost prohibitive forever. So things are going to change as we move forward. And not just storage. If you think on the compute terms as well, and we have seen version 1, the phase 1, first iteration of Google Glass and other things, but today's smartphone is much more powerful than supercomputer of the past. But the entire smartness can be embedded inside simple glasses or simple other connected things in the future in less than 10 years. And that's happening. So this is a classic example I love. So ENIAC was this first general purpose computer built in 1946. And with 5.5 million US dollars that time, it had whooping 5,000 operations per second. Now fast forward a few decades, and you recognize. So simple greeting card available by $1 or $2 in most general purpose stores. And it's a singing. Sometimes it plays a jingle and all that when you open the card. And if you look at the compute power in that simple card of less than $2, it's 800 times faster than the ENIAC of 1946. It's 1.1 million times less expensive than that big computer, and 1.7 million times smaller in size. And if in terms of cost, if you think that ENIAC had to have this power of the greeting card of today, it would have cost $4.4 billion, not just $5.5 million. So think of how the compute revolution has come along. But when we think about innovation and revolution, we always live in a bubble. Many times we have seen this org chart in our companies that, hey, this is not my company. We have all like very nice people around us, but most of the people are motivated to kill an idea, not support an idea, not support the failures or possibility that you can fail temporarily in order to succeed in the long term. But we need to reject this idea in order to make progress, in order to make ourselves future-proof in some kind. So this is like a 4-step formula to future-proof ourselves. It's I4 instead of iPhone. What we need to do is more and more out of these 4 things we can do, more and more we will be resistant to these future uncertainties. Incubating, experimenting small ideas, embracing this data-driven learning, and following this lean startup business model thinking, business model canvas, design thinking, those sort of embracing that kind of thought process, more innovative, agile thought processes, at least we should be able to incubate new ideas at a much faster pace. We'll at least know what's going on in the rest of the world. We'll be open to changing ourselves. Second part is investing in yourself. Nobody else is going to invest in you. We need to invest in ourselves. And the biggest element of that investment is cultural transformation. Peter Drucker's famous quote is, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast any day," right? So especially in big companies, government organizations, the giant organizations, the cultural shift is necessary to make the futuristic investment happen. and cultural transformation. Innovation is no longer a luxury. It's a need-driven thing. Third part is innovation, but innovation in slightly different twist. Think of it as going together. So there is a very famous quote that if you want to walk fast, go alone. But if you want to walk farther, go together. So try to work with like-minded people, like-minded entities, like-minded companies on co-innovation, co-creation, co-development. Have the spirit of winning together. Nobody can win everything alone. The pie is too big for any single company to consume and win over. So learn to share your pie. Learn to share with others. That's the mindset we need to cultivate and develop. And the fourth part is impact. There are so many technologies, they may appear cool, but what is the business impact? What is the customer impact we are creating? Always think of real problems and real solutions. If it's solving a real problem, then people will be willing to pay for it, which would in turn promote the adoption. So if we follow this four-step process, that's one way to survive, and not only survive in this uncertain future, but to thrive in this uncertain future. And not just thrive, but to really win this uncertain future and stay longer and not be the unfortunate statistic of those 88% of those S&P 500 companies which could not survive the 20-year time span. We want to be in that 12% of the companies. But most of the time, it's a race between today and tomorrow. Today is much more cleaner, much more predictive, much more contained. We know a lot about today. So it's a normal human change resistance that takes over the innovation spirit. But we need to make a commitment that, yes, at least part of our investment has to go, part of our investment must go in the futuristic things. It's uncertain, yes, but at the same time, unless you try out something, it's not going to happen. You have to step up. You have to take the first step in this long journey of this 1,000 miles. The future is definitely bright, but the question is, are we ready with our little lamp in that brightness? Are we ready to be part of that bright future? And what are we doing to be ready to be part of that bright future? What are the steps we are taking today which are going to shape our tomorrow? What kind of team culture, team dynamics, corporate culture we are breeding, we are promoting today, which is going to make us a winning company of tomorrow, a winning entity of tomorrow? So the final question is, are we ready? And with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you. We have time for questions, or we're done?
Yes, we about 1 to 2 minutes for Q&A.
Okay. Any quick questions? Yes, ma'am. Very nice. So question is, how do you lead innovation given Cisco is such a large corporation? Very right practical problem. So Cisco has developed 5-pronged innovation strategy: build, buy, partner, invest, and co-create. So there are lots of internal building projects, R&D, and Cisco is one of the few companies which invests 13% of its revenue into R&D at that size. About 40 billion plus revenue company, investing 13% of annual revenue into R&D, it's unusual at that level. So that's the building part. Cisco is known for buy acquisitions as well. So far it has done 190 plus very successful acquisitions. And a lot of people are doing acquisitions, but the core team, which is coming from outside in, typically leaves after the handcuffs are done, like after 2 years or so. Cisco has specific things in place where we are able to retain 90+% of the talent of the acquired companies, even after 10 years. So that's the acquire part, build, buy. Then partnerships, we have working on two angles. One is approaching the individual developers, the API ecosystems, and there is a DevNet program. And then there are strategic big partnerships. Cisco has announced partnerships with Apple, with Ericsson, with Docker on the cloud container side more recently. So these are the strategic partnerships as well as partnerships with individual developers to give them access to the APIs and the cloud-based ecosystem to flourish and make money together. Build by partner investing, Cisco has about $2 billion of investment into startups, into VC funds, into accelerator incubator programs globally. And it has invested into more than 150 such programs. So sometimes those investments are done with strategic alignment in line with Cisco's focus, but sometimes those investments are done purely from a business perspective, just return on investment, ROI. Even if the startup has nothing to do with Cisco's technology, we would still go ahead and invest if it has the potential. And the final part is the co-create or co-development. That's the new mantra that Cisco is trying to follow, because we are also ignorant on many other domains, and we need to accept it. We need to be pragmatic about it. Cisco doesn't know anything. Cisco doesn't know everything. So how can we create a coalition of like-minded individuals who are experts in their respective fields and create a win-win solution? So these five-pronged strategy, and one size does not fit all. So wherever, whatever works, I think carefully picking and choosing the right strategy for the right approach, I think that's one of the ways Cisco has been trying to do. But each company will have to figure out their own way, because there is no secret sauce. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Byron. Please stay for the certificate of recognition.